Danny, thank you for editing this on a weekend with a little one. I love you and you are appreciated. And you will have to deal with me drinking my coffee throughout because it's 7 something in the morning. I'm doing this for you. All right. Let's start with a few quick questions. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately forgotten why you were there, but somehow remember something embarrassing you said in 2007? Maybe your brain has 50 open tabs at all times. You're thinking about work, your grocery list, whether your friend is mad at you, and a random business idea, all while trying to answer a single email. If any of that sounds familiar, this episode might feel very validating. Welcome to Freudian Slips. I'm Ollie, a licensed marriage and family therapist, and today we're talking about ADHD in women, what I believe is one of the most misunderstood and underdiagnosed mental health topics. Today, if you have tuned in before, as you know, it's just me, no Danny. I'm riding solo today. So we are picking a topic that's slightly more my niche and my clientele, and I'm hoping Danny will do one soon too that's more like his niche and his clientele. So today it's just you, me, hopefully a coffee or some kind of beverage that helps you feel cozy, and ADHD. So let's jump in. So for decades, ADHD was thought to mainly affect hyperactive young boys. But what we know now is that many women were simply misdiagnosed, or learned to mask their symptoms. A lot of women don't even realize they have ADHD until much later in life. So today we'll cover why ADHD looks different in women, signs people often miss, how to know if you might have it, and practical tools that can actually help. So let's start with why ADHD in women is often missed. So ADHD stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It has 3 main presentations. So there's the inattentive presentation, which looks more like zoning out, like what looks to be inattentive. There's the hyperactive compulsive presentation. So that's more the restlessness, the impulsivity, I think what we naturally think of when people think of ADHD. And then there's a combined type where you can actually have inattentive presentations along with some of the hyperactive impulsive presentations. And so one of the big reasons ADHD gets missed in women is that the classic image of ADHD was like boys bouncing off the walls in school or at home, constantly being told to like sit down, that they have disruptive behavior. And that's not how we see many girls display their symptoms. So a lot of girls and women have more the inattentive or combined types of ADHD, which can look like the daydreaming, the zoning out, struggling with organization, but all feels much more internal as opposed to how the hyperactive impulsive type can look external. And because of this, many women are first diagnosed with things like anxiety, depression, sometimes even like bipolar or a personality disorder. And the internal experience of ADHD can overlap with these, which does make it easy to miss. Even in my training, I had supervisors always tell me ADHD kind of comes in this like combo pack where there's ADHD, anxiety, and depression. And they're like, you just got to figure out which one's like running the show. Because personally, I am not the type of therapist that believes someone should necessarily hold all 3 of those labels or be diagnosed with all 3 of those things. Again, every case is different. But I do think sometimes if one of those is leading the show, like in this case, let's say it's ADHD, well, yeah, you're going to have anxiety because you're looking around you and you're like, why are other people not functioning like this? Or like, when am I going to figure this out or be able to like do this more efficiently? Or you might start to feel depressed because you're like everyone's telling me I don't try hard enough or that I'm lazy. And it's like, I know I'm not, but I can't figure this out. And so it makes sense that we see a lot of those things too. So it's just kind of figuring out which one is leading the show. I just find it fascinating that women tend to be misdiagnosed with other things first, where a lot more men or boys, it tends to be easier to see or to catch. All right, how about some unique ADHD experiences for women? So, number 1, we've got more of a late diagnosis can happen. Many women aren't diagnosed until adulthood, and often when life demands increase. So that could be becoming a parent, managing a household, career pressure, burnout. As kids, they might have been labeled talkative or emotional, spacey, not living up to their potential. So they grow up thinking they're the problem and not realizing their brain just works differently. Okay, number 2, rejection sensitivity, and emotional intensity. So many women with ADHD experience something called rejection sensitivity, where perceived criticism feels extremely intense. This can look like replaying conversations for hours, assuming someone is upset with you, feeling deeply affected by small feedback. There's also emotional dysregulation, so really strong emotional reactions to things that might feel hyperbolic, difficulty letting things go, overwhelm and frustration around what might feel like something small. These are all things that we can see in men as well, like rejection sensitivity can be a symptom across genders with ADHD. But what's interesting is in research, it shows that men tend to naturally grow out of the level of emotional dysregulation where women don't. Women seem to still really experience things that deeply and struggle to regulate their emotions around it, where for some reason we see men that become naturally less and less over time. People have different theories for that. I just find it fascinating that that is something we notice, which also means that's something that should be addressed and we should help women with. Another one is the hormonal impact. So hormones actually play a big role in ADHD. Estrogen affects your dopamine, which is involved in ADHD, so symptoms can fluctuate during your menstrual cycle, pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause. Many women notice their focus and emotional regulation worsen during low estrogen phases. So again, it's one of those things that's like crazy to think that our hormones could relate so much to this, but that could also be a reason why some of that emotional dysregulation doesn't just like taper out over time because we go through so many different periods. Pun not intended, but we have so many different, whether it's periods or periods of life, that as females, our hormones fluctuate greatly. There's also high achievement and hidden struggles. So a lot of women with ADHD are high achieving, but behind the scenes, they may procrastinate intensely, rely on last minute adrenaline, feel constantly overwhelmed. So from the outside, they look successful, but internally, they can feel like they're barely holding it together. Again, this can be seen in men as well. However, research shows that culturally, we still put a lot of pressure on women. It's still like, hey, why are you not excelling at work? And like, when are you going to have kids? And so when you constantly feel like there's this messaging around you of like, okay, like I got to do more, got to get it together, got to, that like we just believe we have to do all of these things, women end up masking what could potentially be a lot of their life, like decades, trying to overcompensate for these things. Or finding different strategies and ways to like be able to better handle certain situations and things. And that's why it might not be until you now have kids and you're still running that business and now you've become a caregiver to someone in your family that you're like, I can't manage this anymore. And not to say that that wouldn't be a lot to manage for anyone, but the pressure women seem to put on themselves is different than the pressure men seem to put on themselves. And again, research is interesting because sadly, I mean, it does show men and women across the board. They do believe, again, a lot of these, I'm saying men and women because a lot of these studies were just based on people that identify as men, people that identify as women. But across genders, they have seen people are very hard on themselves when they have ADHD. Like shame is a really big component, sadly, of having ADHD. But the sad part is maybe, let's say, where men would report feeling like, yeah, I really wish I would have done that better. Like that was a bummer. Women will take that same experience and be like, I am a failure. Like, I don't even know why they're with me. I don't know why I haven't gotten fired. Like, I don't deserve to be here. Like, it can get really, really intense. So again, another thing that applies across the board, but there is a slight nuance between how men and women seem to experience it. Another one is the household and mental load. So this kind of pairs with our last one. ADHD makes invisible labor especially hard, like remembering the groceries, planning meals, organizing schedules, tracking appointments. And these executive functioning demands often increase in adulthood and, again, are normally still placed more on women in a heterosexual relationship. There's also, like we said, the shame, masking, and burnout. So girls are often socialized to be organized, responsible, emotionally regulated. So if they struggle in these departments, they get messaging like, you're lazy, you're not trying hard enough. Many become expert maskers. So they're over preparing, they're perfectionists, they're people pleasing. And over time, that can lead to things like chronic exhaustion, anxiety, imposter syndrome, burnout. And so I think part of that masking can also lead to some of those other diagnoses we see, because it doesn't look a lot like ADHD at this point. And people might say, well, no, 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 you're a perfectionist. You're actually working like so hard all the time. Like, that's not ADHD. That's the one that's running around that seems like they're in la la land, when the reality is it's not. Or it can be both. So here are some signs that you might have ADHD. And again, this is not me trying to have anyone diagnose themselves. I'm just pointing out these are all things that we would look for as therapists, or I guess now is a good time to caveat, I'm also a school psychologist. And so with that being said, most of the things I actually know about ADHD, I never learned in therapy school. I learned being a school psychologist because you run like full cognitive tests. You're like doing similar tests that like a neuro psych would do, or even like a PhD clinical psychologist. Whereas therapists are taught to diagnose ADHD based on a set of criteria in the DSM, which is our diagnosing manual. But all of that is just talk therapy. I was taught about ADHD more so from the lens of a school psychologist that's like, oh, this is a processing disorder. We can measure it. We can do tests. We can run statistics, and we can figure out, oh, yes, there's a discrepancy here. And like, we expect these scores to be lower. Well, these scores are also going to be probably pretty high. And again, people with ADHD tend to be decently high achieving and like have pretty high IQs. And so you'll see discrepancies where you're like, that doesn't quite make sense. And depending on where those are and in what areas of your cognitive functioning they are, mostly being working memory and processing speed, that's where we tend to see, okay, on paper and with a lot of talking and questionnaires and things, it does seem like this person might have ADHD. So that's how I prefer to test it. I do not like to tell people, and I don't think I've ever told anyone 100% through talk therapy, I think it's ADHD. I might say with my background, I really do believe that's what it is, or I think there's a very high probability. But either way, hey, these are the symptoms you're dealing with, and we can attack those no matter how we want to label them. So here are just some things to keep in mind, some food for thought. If they seem to resonate with you, please go talk to a professional. And if you want to get it more looked into, absolutely feel free. So here are some signs. Number 1, chronic overwhelm from everyday tasks. Difficulties starting tasks, forgetting appointments, losing things frequently, time blindness, starting projects but struggling to finish them, mental exhaustion from basic organization. Another one that might seem kind of niche, but we see all the time, is people with ADHD tend to have focus windows that are either very, very late at night or very, very early in the morning. And so it also can throw off their sleep, because when they're actually most focused and when they want to work on things, tends to be at a time that like societally is not encouraged. Like, it might just be really late, or you wake up really early to get things done. But that might also have affected your sleep for a long period of time. So some people also present like they have sleep issues, which again, they do have sleep issues, but it's because of the ADHD. It might not be because of other kinds of like sleep disturbances or diagnoses. Okay, and another big one is hyperfocus. So being able to spend hours on something interesting, but you're like struggling to start the laundry or do like 2 dishes that are in the sink. And that inconsistency can feel really confusing for people. Many women specifically will also hear things like, you're so smart, but you don't apply yourself. Like, why are you so disorganized? And all these things can feel painful when you're like actually trying very hard. So I would think back to if you have heard comments like that. And again, if we're being really technical, you have to have heard some of these things also before the age of 12. So it has to exist across different areas of your life. And we want to make sure that it has been there over time. It's not something that's just going to like show up in your 20s that you never had. All right. Now we're going into practical tools. So understanding ADHD helps, but tools are where things change. The goal is to work with your brain, not against it. So I always like to tell clients, it might have felt like if you've ever seen one of those like toys for kids from, I don't know if they even still make them, kids from the 90s. where it's like this little like octagon or something, and then there's the different shapes that you can like put in the corresponding holes of that shape. And it might feel like you are the circle peg and you've been trying to like shove yourself into like the square hole your whole life. And you're just like, why is this not working? And people are just like, get in there. Like, why is it fit in this hole? And you're like, no, like, let's move that around and just find the circle hole because you're the circle peg. And like, it's okay. Like, your brain literally works differently. This is a processing disorder. It's something we can see. It's not just so you can think your way out of it, or these tools are not just going to make your ADHD, quote unquote, go away, but it can make life a lot easier to deal with. And it can make all of these different tasks that you struggle with much more manageable. Okay, practical tool number 1, externalize everything. So ADHD impacts working memory. So get things out of your head. Visual to-do lists, reminders, calendars, sticky notes. It can help so much to take what might feel in your head. Again, which is funny, even for the inattentive presentations, your head might just feel like buzzing all the time, or like white noise almost, or something like that. It can help to take that and put it somewhere. Even if it's just a giant list, even if there's sticky notes all over, it's like, at least it could be like, take it out of your head and put it somewhere where you can write it down. So sometimes that can lessen the noise, or just kind of like the frequency that it feels like things are happening inside of you, and be like, okay, at least I know where that is now. And I might not know what's on it, but I know where to go if I need to find it. And I don't need to constantly worry about remembering it. Practical tool number 2, reduce friction. If something has too many steps, your brain resists it. So this might look like multiple chargers in different rooms instead of, that one phone charger you expect to remember to bring in every room. Something I call like drop zones, which are in each room. You might have like a little bucket or a cute little carpet or something, that rather than feeling like, okay, everything needs to go in its exact place, if I just know like this can be my kind of catch-all for a little bit, and then if I have too many clothes on that carpet, that's when they go in the hamper. Or if I have like enough little knickknacks I've thrown in this like bucket, it might be like, oh, okay, like then I can take a day or like 20 minutes to be like, now I'm going to go through this bucket and put each thing where it goes in this room. But again, it can lessen the mental load sometimes to feel like, oh, finding the exact drawer in here that this one little stupid item goes is like, I'm not going to do that, versus like, okay, just chuck it in this catch-all space for now and I'll deal with that later. And once you rewire your brain to say like that is enough, then sometimes that alone feels like a win, where before it felt like, oh, like, why is it so hard for me to put this thing away? But if you start reframing how you view the system itself and what is expected of you, then that alone all of a sudden becomes like, oh, yay, like I did the thing I was supposed to do. And like, this is my little system and it's working for me. There's also like automating bills. If that helps you, or if that's just one less step, and now you don't need to worry about remembering exactly when all these bills are due, or you're constantly getting a like, hey, you have a $5 late fee because you didn't pay that on time, automate it. Like any little shift that you can do, it might feel so mundane, but it can truly make life feel so different once you start like compiling all of these, and they compound over time. Practical tool number 3, and this one is like, I see this one all the time. I think this is one of the most effective strategies, is body doubling. So that's doing tasks while someone else is present. That could look like co-working, study groups, virtual focus sessions. I mean, it can be like, hey, you don't even need to be doing the same thing, by the way, as the person who is body doubling with you. So maybe they're packing for a trip and you're like, you know what? You're packing for a trip. I can see you from the kitchen. Like, we're talking. Maybe while you do that, I'll do dishes. It's just like having someone in your vicinity that is also being productive. Or if you kind of start to go off task, or you guys both do, it's like accountability buddies. And it's like, no, wait. I'm packing. You're dishing. Let's keep going. What are we doing? So things like that can be super helpful for people if you haven't tried it. Another tool is interest-based motivation. So ADHD brains are driven by interest, novelty, urgency, and challenge, not by importance. So if you try things like timers, music, gamifying tasks, like all of those, again, they might sound silly, but they're ways that you can increase the interest, novelty, or urgency that will then maybe make the task feel more manageable. If you're going to do something like music or you're really into an audiobook, only listen to that like genre of music or that artist or something or the book while you're engaging in said task. So the key here is you need to find little tricks to where it's not like you're getting that when you're doing other things. Because then why would I do laundry and listen to the audiobook if it's like, but I can also listen to the audiobook if I'm just like outside tanning? Like, no, clearly I don't do that. But it needs to just be paired with that task. That, you know what I consider a tool is self-compassion, okay? And this is huge because struggling with ADHD doesn't mean you're lazy or you're failing. It means your brain works differently and you need different systems, not more shame. Also, it doesn't mean that you should operate like other people. I think that's a part of why this work really like stole my heart is because A, I am married to one of the most ADHD humans ever. And he is just like a textbook definition of it. And I see how frustrated it can make him. I mean, it breaks my heart because it comes with so many strengths. And I think it's so much harder to see those when you're constantly being told your whole life, like, hey, you're deficient in this. Why can't you figure this out? When the reality is like, all the strengths that can come with ADHD are things like creativity, quick problem solving, high empathy, curiosity, entrepreneurial thinking. Like many people thrive in environments that reward novelty and big picture thinking. A lot of people with ADHD are kind of like the CEO type, or they're people that are going to start their own thing or always have an idea of like something creative they want to do, which is so healthy for us as we age. Like, I mean, they're always like scheming. There's always something going on in there. There's always something that they're thinking about or curious about or really deeply looking into. Like that is so incredibly healthy for us on so many levels. And we don't talk about that as much as we talk about the like, well, why can't they sit in their chair for 8 hours a day and just focus on math? I don't get it. Why is that so hard? And it's like, because we were never wired to do that anyway. So sorry, I get fired up over these things because it just like breaks my heart. And I hope if there's one person listening that feels like, wow, okay, like, yeah, I have felt kind of shitty about having ADHD, or maybe they didn't know they had it and they're like, yeah, I've been talked to a lot like this and it confuses me and I don't get why. Like if this episode can help give you any clarity or just validation of your experience, like please know there are so many people out there with ADHD that whether they know it or not, and those all come with strengths, not just weaknesses. So if this resonates, it may be worth exploring further. That could include working with a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, ideally someone familiar with ADHD in adults and especially in women. So assessment can often include clinical interviews, questionnaires, developmental history, like full cognitive testing, like I mentioned earlier. So there's different ways to have this looked at, but feel free to like leave comments below or, shoot us a message if you have more questions specifically about it. If you want to take the time, send us an email. I'm more than happy to help. Like these are areas I help clients with all the time. And I genuinely want people to get the best kind of care and help they can. And for whatever they're specifically looking for. Like some people just kind of want to know if the symptoms are there and it's like, oh, cool. Like, so how do I work with those? Others are like, no, like I want to get fully tested. I want to know what is going on and I want like real answers on paper that have been like analyzed and tweezed apart. That's fair too. So if you don't really know where to go for those things, well, actually, we have a resource below. So I have linked what kind of professionals can do each of those, as well as just like a general like sheet for tips and more information on specifically women with ADHD. But we also have other ADHD resources on our website. So please check that out. So if there's one takeaway, it's this. Struggling with focus, organization, or overwhelm doesn't mean you're lazy. It may mean your brain works differently. And once you understand how it works, you can build a life that actually supports it. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who might need it. And as always, this podcast is educational, not a substitute for professional care. If you're looking for more support, check out the resources we've linked below. Thanks for listening. Me and Danny will see you next time. Bye.